Now what will it be? Death or exile?
All right, we're gonna start with the...
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to.
Should we not follow the advice of the galactically stupid?
You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Worst part of it is they're gonna blame us for the whole thing. And they can't have people knowing the truth. We're the the cover up. Don't forget, we're the Exiles.
Very well. Death by exile.
Welcome to another installment of the Film Exiles podcast. Tonight, myself, Millennial Mike, and Fabrice are going to review Incendies, directed by, what's his name again? Denis Villeneuve, back in 2010.
Just that guy, you know.
Yeah, Denis
And it's
Villeneuve.
Denis. You said Dennis. It's Denis.
I'm so sorry. I'm always going to make that mistake. Mike, how you doing tonight?
Good. I'm ready to correct every word that you say, so you better watch yourself.
That's the only reason why I put you on these pods at all. And that's why you're that's why you're always on them. And you haven't heard him in a while, but we have Fabrice with us. Fabrice, how you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, man. I'm glad to be back. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you back, especially since this movie was actually one of your suggestions.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a huge Villeneuve fan, and it's been a while since I watched this movie because it was my introduction to him. So, yeah, glad to talk about it.
All right, great. This is my first time watching it. I watched it after you recommended it, and yeah, we're gonna get into how good it is, or how bad it is, or whatever. So, real quick plot summary on Incendies. Incendies is the story about.
It's pronounced Incendies.
Yes, of course, but
Incendies.
I'm not gonna like hit the listeners with the French already, man. All right, so the story of Incendies is the story of a mother's last wishes that sends her twins Jean and Simon on a journey to the Middle East in search of their tangled roots. It's adapted from Wajid Muhammad's acclaimed play. It tells the powerful and moving tale of two young adults' voyage to the core of deep-rooted hatred, never-ending wars, and enduring love. This synopsis is it is not very detailed, and that's for a purpose because I think that it's trying to do its best to not give any spoilers because this movie is full of twists and turns. It is crazy narrative that takes you across time, across the world as well. So I think that, for you to, like, if you've never seen this movie before, to go into it as blind as possible is going to give you the best experience that you can get. We're going to start, and we're just going to give our brief thoughts on the movie, spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you can still listen to this part. Fabrice, why don't you tell us what you thought of Incendies, or Incendies?
Incendies, as it is called, in many ways is my favorite Denis Villeneuve movie from a narrative standpoint. The storytelling, the way it leaves a lot to the audience to figure out. It doesn't spoon feed you anything. It's a thinking man's movie. And from a Villeneuve standpoint, I think Blade Runner is his biggest accomplishment as a director. But narratively, this one, as far as storytelling goes, the different techniques, the non-linear way he tells a story, like I said, it is my favorite movie of his.
Mike, what about you? I know that Villeneuve did Arrival, which was on your top 3 favorites.
Yeah.
So
I have to say, because after watching Arrival, I really didn't have like a really full idea of what Villeneuve is like as a director, and even still, I don't, because I haven't seen all the movies he's done. But after watching this movie, I'm starting to connect the dots, and I'm starting to actually appreciate his movies more, and his his skill and his sensibilities as a director even more. As far as this movie goes, I really there's a twist like we talked about that comes up, and it's just so expertly done. The timing is done so well too, because you can have a twist and you can not reveal it at the right time and it might fall flat, but the way that it was revealed, the way that the reactions happen from the characters and how they mirror your thoughts internally, and how it all happens just on time to maximize the impact was done just expertly. It was done brilliantly. So I just have to say, just mad props to Denis, and the movie was just. I'm gonna have to watch a movie multiple times to understand all the good. Nevertheless, if there is any bad, to understand that. So I can't say
Uh-huh.
there's anything. I can't say there's anything bad about the movie because I'm just on a high right now. But it was good.
I feel the same way as both of you. I'll go a step further and I'll say that this is my favorite Villeneuve film. The way that this story is told, it doesn't just take a great understanding of pacing and a great understanding of narrative.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
also takes faith and trust in your audience. And we've been talking a lot about Mike, we just recently did a pod with Gray where we talked about spoon feeding the audience and how these
Hmm.
new blockbusters, how every scene is just to spoon feed you the plot, but this movie is an adult film and it treats its audience like it's like an adult. Just the narrative steps that it takes, it's everything is is done to tell this story. You just have to give him all of the credit in the world because he tells it expertly. From the very first frame to the last frame, it's just this beautiful, heart wrenching, and heartbreaking story. And yet, even at the end, there's still,
A glimmer of hope.
Well, there's
yeah,
closure, and that's what I
there's,
think. There's
Yeah,
there,
there's
that's the right word.
yeah.
Closure.
all in all, the performances are fantastic. The cinematography is beautiful at during at some scenes, even though there's some ugliness being depicted.
Yep.
It's very beautiful to look at, and
And
and and and I think what I love most about this film is the honesty of it all. It does not shy away from brutality or from human nature. And I just think that there's just so many great things that Villeneuve was able to put on screen. And again, thank you,
what?
Fab, for recommending it.
No, I was gonna say also one thing that stood out was the score or lack thereof.
Yes,
Yeah.
Because
yes, 'cause, like the score. Well, I mean, we're gonna get into all that once we jump over the spoiler wall. But
okay,
like, if anybody is still out there listening, just if you haven't seen this movie, please go watch it and
and
then come
and
back and
come
listen
back.
because we do not want to ruin it for you. It's truly an experience. It's a slow burner, I think. I mean, no, I wouldn't
It
even
is.
call it.
I was
Yeah,
riveted.
It's
It's riveting.
the
It's
that's the
not.
thing. Like, it's
the
a slow burning, but it's just from the very beginning you're pulled into this world, and you're just and it's just off to the and you have no
Well,
idea where it's gonna take you.
it's a mystery. So I think the reason why it feels like a slow burner is because you don't know where you're gonna end up. Like movies where you know, like, hey, this is the goal. It kind of pulls you along, right? But you're kind of looking ahead, you know. But with a mystery, you're looking like right down at your feet with the light shining right at your feet, seeing where you're
Oh,
going at until you get there, you know.
oh, I like that
I
analogy.
think I think the first half an hour it's a little slow because you have no idea where the story is going. Like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
starts off at one location and there's a complete turn when you get to the mother's backstory and everything. So it is a little slow at the start, but the moment it picks up, it drags you in all the way. And it's one of those movies I'll love rewatching over and over because I
Mhm.
always find something new in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump over the spoiler wall. So please, if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it and come back. If you have, stick around for the rest of the conversation. All right, let's go. Yo, that bus scene is insane, right?
Oh man. Wait a second. There's a favorite moment section here. I
Yeah,
think just
I know, but I just had to get that out the way. I've been wanting to say that all day long. That
yeah,
bus scene is awesome. Yo,
that
I mean,
Yes,
it
it
was
is.
that was
Yes, it is.
a masterpiece, an absolute just that was a feat and just cinematic and directorial, just he did something
Storytelling.
storytelling.
it was so
And then they
fucking
had
beautiful that
later on they had a flashback to it where you got more information from the same scene, and then it
Yep.
gives you even more impact. Like wow,
it
holy
was
smokes!
like they even that's even what they used for the poster of the movie.
Yeah,
Right, the shot of her standing in front of the burning bus. But you know, we'll get there. We'll get there. I just had to get that out there.
yeah.
Let's start by talking about the
I'm
performances
shook.
in this. Let's start. Let's. What I really loved about this movie is that it's there's a small cast, but it feels really big. I don't know if
Big.
it's just me. It goes through so many events, through so much. We go through different locations, different times. We're in the past. We're in the present. We're in the Middle East. We're in Canada.
Mhm.
We go back and forth, and it just seems like there's so much going on. But he does it with a very tight knit group of characters. Mike, why don't you tell us which performances stood out the most for you?
Definitely. I think in my opinion, is it Lubna Azabal? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Um,
Well, she plays Nawal, Marwin, who is the mother, who you see in the very beginning. She has, as of what you know at the time, two kids who are trying to basically uncover bits and pieces of her life as the movie goes on. But yeah, she did the best. She did a really good job portraying so much emotion through her body expression, her facial expression. And while I don't know this actress, I have to say that I would definitely not be opposed to seeing her do more roles in the future. I mean, she just did. And matter of fact, when I was watching it, I didn't really even think of her as an actress, and that's because everything came together just so well. I just felt like
Yep.
I was watching something that was real. I mean, like a documentary, even. I mean, but not like it didn't feel like it. It just felt like it was real events. I don't know how to explain it, but that just really a testament to how awesome that she portrayed the role, how she really just kind of brought me into the world where I was kind of living it through her eyes in a way. So I
yeah,
just loved
Yep.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
And the fact that she did all of this in various languages, like her
Yeah.
switching between French and Arabic, it was very flawless. She was
I didn't
flawless in
even
it.
realize it, dude. That is nuts. That's
I actually did.
Yeah.
crazy.
I actually didn't realize something until you just said it. Is that she actually does not talk much in this movie. A lot of this movie is through her actions, but I don't think she speaks all that much.
Some of those
Oh,
close-up facial shots that she had. I mean, she had some close-ups in the beginning, and then she had like, of course, the big one at the end at the pool, and they were just haunting, man.
Yes,
Haunting. Like,
and she doesn't
wow.
and she doesn't say a word.
No.
Yeah.
yeah.
No.
And I think the her reaction at the pool is probably her greatest piece of acting. Because to see your abuser and not react, do you know how hard that has to be? Like
Wow.
for a person, like this person has abused you for how many years, and you
And he
find
does
out,
and he doesn't remember her. He looked
yep,
right through her.
Yeah.
because if she had reacted, he would have noticed something was wrong.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she kept a straight face,
Yeah.
cold.
Wow. And to also know, because even in her letter, she basically said that she still loved him.
Hmm.
Like that is like, that's a statement that I think that wow, that just rips me up, man. That rips me up. Like I don't even know how it's possible. But we have so many stories, like for instance in Interstellar, about how basically love can transcend time and space, right? But then when it comes down to something like this, like, well, why can't love transcend this terrible, terrible, terrible incident that happened?
But
And and it
I
can, I think. I mean, she apparently felt that way. She wanted to give up that cycle of hatred that she said, and
yeah.
she first forgave, and that's just rid- I don't even know. I'm just like
Yeah,
stuttering.
I know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, and I think that's your like you have to take it into the context of how his life began. her abuser's life began. It began because she fell in love with a man from a different religion,
Yeah, yeah.
and she became an outcast to her family, and her family killed that man. So so when she says to end the cycle of anger, I totally understand that because you're thinking if there had been just a little bit more acceptance in the world, his life would have turned out so differently. Like he
Yep.
was basically
Mm.
set on this path
But
before he was
yeah,
even born.
Yep.
yeah, yeah. You're
And
absolutely right.
Yeah.
so Fat, why don't you? What about you? Any other performances stood out for you, or are we sticking more about Noah? Because in a way, this is her movie. She
Yeah.
really
Yeah, it
carries
is.
this
It
film.
really is. Holy
I
smokes.
think the next best ones will be her two kids, and I think the daughter, Melissa Desormeaux Poulain, that's the name of the actress.
Hmm.
She plays Jean Marwan.
Yep.
Like she had a couple of scenes where her acting really showed. Like for
Hmm.
example, when it's revealed to her that her dad and brother are the same person, she has this gasp that is kind of gut
Yes.
wrenching, and it took
Yeah.
me by surprise the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I heard it, the hairs on my arms stood up and like my stomach turned and I was just like I had this hollow feeling in the pit of my stomach. The heat from my face just just evaporated.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And then of course just the lack of score and just the timing of the directing and the editing is just it came together really well.
Well, yes, it did.
Yeah, I agree. The daughter was also spectacular, and what I also really loved was the resemblance between the daughter and the mother. Like,
The
Hmm.
mom
at sometimes they would switch, and it took me a second to oh
Yeah,
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 that's
yeah.
the
to
daughter.
realize
Yeah.
with
Also,
yep, I
so
know.
it wasn't just. I think they depict an actress that you could feel was this woman's daughter,
Hmm.
and because basically like the first half of this movie you're learning her mother's history as she's learning it, so it's like we're going on this journey with her,
Yep.
so we're bonding with her, and we're not only learning about her mother's history, we're learning about her as well and how this affects her. Like very
Yeah.
early on in the movie, after they leave the lawyer's office where they get the wills, they're talking about their mother outside, and the brother, Simon, who's played by Maxime Godet, is talking about how their mom has always been crazy and she's always been hard to live with, and that
Mm.
and
And
that and even he's more reluctant to enter the fray than his sister,
yeah,
who jumps right in.
because
Uh,
in many ways he never really. I'm not gonna say he didn't like her. He
but yeah,
didn't empathize with what she was going through at the time.
but because he
He
had no idea, he
yeah,
had
he
no
had no
idea.
idea.
Like he just saw the result. He just
Yep.
saw the result of the life
Yep.
that she's had, of the trauma that she's been through, and he's seeing it from the perspective of how it affected her.
Hmm.
But the daughter, she wanted to understand, and she went on this road because she was seeking closure. She wanted to move on more than Simon did. I think. I think
Yeah.
Simon just wanted to leave the past, because even when they get to the Middle East, when he gets to the Middle East, he just wants to be like, no, the father's dead, the brother's dead. It's just over. Let's just move on. But Jean kept pushing forward, and I think one of my favorite scenes is when she finds out that her mother was raped in prison,
Prison. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
she calls Simon and she's like, I need you to come here," and I think that that scene and the one where she breaks down when she understands the 1+1 are just as good as as some of Lubna Asabo's scenes. For example, when she reaches the orphanage and she sees the destruction and she worries that the boy that she left might be dead. I
Mm.
feel like that's one of my favorite scenes because she
I
just
know.
breaks down at that moment. Um,
And also the scene at the pool between the
yes.
two siblings when
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
yes,
done
yes, yes. When
swimming.
yes, and they just hug each other at the end,
Yeah,
right?
they
Hmm.
look at each other for a quick minute and then hug each other. That's where it kind of sunk into both of them that they're gonna need each other to get through all of this terrible news they've just heard.
Yeah.
It was a lot of terrible, and again, it's just beautiful because Villeneuve doesn't shy away from it. We see it all,
Mhm.
and when you don't shy away from it, when you show the story as it plays out, like you as the audience, you can't help but empathize as well and sympathize
Yes.
Yeah.
and again, the way that he tells the story makes you a part of it because you're discovering it along with Jean and Simon. You're part of this discovery. Yeah, I felt it. One plus
And,
one can be
Yeah.
one. I felt that. I
and
can't say.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be in my mind for a long time. Like whenever I hear 1 plus 1, like I always think equals 3 as like a joke, like like but now I'm gonna think 1, and I'm just gonna like curl into a ball and.
okay, like I was saying, fun fact about the actor that played Simon. His name is Maxime Godet, and he also played in Villeneuve's first ever movie,
Oh, I didn't
um,
know that.
Polytechnique. I don't know if you guys have seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
I've,
yeah, we're not. I
I've
guess we're not
seen
real fans. We lost
I
our
I have
don't have
seen that
cards.
movie more times than I would like to. Because I don't know if you guys know what it's. Do you know what it's about?
No.
It's a school shooting that happened here in Montreal in '89,
Oh, okay.
and one of the students, he went into the school. He killed 14 of 14 girls in the school.
Wow.
He shot 28 people, 14 died, and he only went at the girls. He Before doing the shooting, he said he was fighting feminism
Oh
Okay.
wow.
This was in
in
1989.
in 1989. So yeah, that was Villeneuve's first ever movie. So I've watched it more times in school than I would like to.
Yeah, I feel you, man.
Yeah, but it's yeah. So Maxime Godet plays the killer in that.
Oh
Of that.
wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think that goes to show you how diverse his acting abilities are.
yeah.
Because he
He
didn't
won a
seem
couple
like
of
in
Oscars.
this he didn't seem like he could be even capable of that.
No, no. He didn't have much to do. His sister
Yeah,
was
really.
more on the forefront because they were trying to do the juxtaposition between her and the
Yeah.
mom. Yep, and both stories going at the same time. Yeah, but yeah, Maxime Godet, he was in Villeneuve's first ever movie, and I guess he liked him enough to put him in the second one.
All right. So let's move on. Let's talk about our favorite moments and scenes in the movie. Mike, go ahead, get us started.
Um, I would have to say the bus scene.
Oh, which scene is that again? Oh.
Man, it's just you know, there's so many things to say about this movie. I mean, it was relatively dialogueless. It was relatively scoreless.
Yeah.
And even the cinematography was very simple. I mean, wide open space, a bus, people. I mean, there's not much props or set pieces or anything in there. It was just pure acting and just like directorial, you know, it was just great. Now, essentially, what happens is and I have to watch it again because some of the context, like they don't tell you that much about what's going on, so you have to really pick up on it. But they're in a bus with, I guess, with a bunch of other people, and you have some sort of militia, I guess, some radical militia or something like that, and there's a man outside of the bus. I guess was he the driver of the bus? Was
Yes.
he? Yeah, he was arguing with the militia who I guess stopped them, and they end up shooting him, and then they just start shooting at the bus. And but at the end of this whole act, basically, it was just an act of senseless violence, is what it ended up being. On a wall, and there's only a few. I think there's like one other woman and her child who survived the initial, spray of
Onslaught.
bullets.
Yeah.
Really, they get on top of the bus, they gas the bus down, and they about to set it on fire, and Nawal looks at the other woman, takes her child, and then pulls out her cross around her neck and says, I'm Christian, because I guess the militia aren't interested in killing Christians or something.
No, they are. Okay, so what's basically happening is there's a civil war, and there's a Christian extremist side, and there's a Muslim extremist side, both going at it. And I guess the area where they were was
the Christian extremists.
yes, was a Christian
Yeah.
extremist. So they thought everyone on that bus was Muslim. So that's why they killed everyone indiscriminately.
Yeah.
So when she pulled out the cross, I guess they spared her because she was on their side of the cause or whatever.
Yeah.
As twisted as that is, that's
Yeah.
pretty much the scenario.
Yeah, but I mean, and there's a lot to be said about the scene, but it was done very, in a matter of fact. Like if this were another director, or maybe if this was a more mainstream movie, there would be like this dramatic music, and it would be a lot kind of slower and less to the point. Like I felt like all these events were happening in real time. Boom, boom, boom. There's no time to breathe, no time to think. These guys have guns. They're about to pull the trigger. Give me your son. I'm gonna get him out. And they shared this like exchange, this look, where she realized that even though she didn't want to give him up,
That's the
like
only way she
it's the
could
only
say
way
it.
to do it. And also I felt like this really played. And I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. We'll get more into it later in the theme section, but about the themes of motherhood and like what you're willing to do for your children.
Yeah.
And that really plays into that a lot. Even though it's such a small part, it just kind of plays into the overall themes of this movie.
And that
Yeah.
scene from its inception, it's kind of funny because to get on the bus, she has to pretend she's a Muslim by covering her hair, like hiding her cross so she can get on. But then to get off the bus, she had to pretend she's a Christian. So it's kind of funny how Villeneuve played with the two sides of the religions or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
man,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
good
it
for
was
yourself, Fab.
for sure. Yeah, Fab can go next. I'm trying to hold back. There's so much to say.
There
Wow.
is. Fab, what about your favorite moment, scene?
Um, I don't want to steal one of yours because I think it's probably it. When
Go for
One
she,
it.
plus one.
no, oh, okay, no, I wasn't gonna say 1+1. I
Oh
was gonna
wow.
I
say,
know,
Okay.
I know which one he's gonna say. I know which one. When
what
she kills
is it?
homie, when she kills the dude,
Yeah,
right?
yes,
Yes.
because she not just the scene, like how she got there, because she's a Christian from birth, 'cause, like her family is Christian and everything. Yeah, just so you know, guys, this movie it plays a lot with religion, and it doesn't matter which side of what religion you're on. It's pretty down the middle. Every side is portrayed with a good and a bad side, so nothing personal or whatever. So, anyways, her family is Christian, right? So the extremists that she thought killed her kids are Muslim. Her son, I mean, not her kids, her son are Muslim. And she goes, ironically, and joins them in an effort to avenge the son she thought was dead. Like, yeah, she goes and joins the Muslim extremists and kills the leader
Mhm.
of the Christian extremists. Anyways, the face of it. I don't know if he was a leader because, like Manu said, there isn't much that's explained in this movie. You kind of have to put the pieces together
Hmm.
yourself. So the way the scene is, it's a one-shot scene where she walks through a corridor, the camera focused on her, and it switches over to him. And the moment she fires the gun, it isn't showed how the person died. It is focused on her face and her
Yes.
expression.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah, me too. Me
Yeah,
too. That was like what I love about it is it's all shot in one shot. It starts from her upstairs because to get close to him, she had to
info.
become infiltrate and become his son's tutor.
Yeah.
So she's giving his son a lesson, and then she leaves the room, walks down the stairs, walk outside where the leader and a group of men are having a discussion, and then she shoots him. And and you know that something is gonna happen in this place. The tension has this way of ratcheting it up,
Mm-hmm.
and you know something's about to happen. And just that whole scene is just played so beautifully. And what I love is like what Fab said when she takes out the gun and she's about to shoot, the camera cuts to her face, and we watch her reaction to the killing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Actually, yes, you guys stole both of mine. Thank you very much. But luckily, this movie actually has a lot of great scenes. A lot of them don't even have much dialogue or. One of my favorite is I mentioned it before. It's when Nawal arrives at the orphanage after she's traveled all this way to find the son that she had given away as a child. Oh well, when she was younger. And she travels all this way. First, she goes to one orphanage and she finds out that they transferred all of the boys to a different one 3 years earlier. So she goes to that other one and she finds that it's in ruins. And there's a man, and the man, she asks the man, "What happened? What happened?" He's like, "You gotta ask somebody who was here." And she
Yeah,
just sits down in the middle of the orphanage and she breaks down because she had made the promise that she was going to find her son. And when the war broke out, she couldn't wait anymore. She had to go. She had to find him. And this promise meant so much to her that it was only when she had found this son that she was able to let go. Cuz she
let
was
go.
cuz she was in
Exactly.
so much pain. So
Mm-hmm.
much pain after like not only did she have to let go of her son right after he was born. She thought that he died. She committed a crime that she paid for by going to jail for 15 years.
Yes.
15 years where she was in this prison, where
Mm-hmm.
she was tortured, beaten, raped, and all of these things and she finally gets out after all of these years, and she's still in pain. She's still in pain. She still doesn't know what happened to her son. And you just have to wonder how much that can affect somebody's mindset. And what those years must have been like in Canada with the other twins, knowing
Yeah.
what she knew.
Mm-hmm.
That
Because eventually it broke her.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
That's why her younger son, Simon,
you
that's
were
why
right.
he's kind of detached from her.
Yes, because she he mentions it very early on in the movie that she was very difficult to live with,
Mm-hmm.
and we get to see why. We get, and when we understand why she was the way she was, knowing that these children are due to rape, that she was raped in prison and she was pregnant and she had these twins. Like the toll that must take on her mind.
And the fact that she had to give away her kids twice, like,
Yes,
I
Yeah.
don't know, most people, they wouldn't recover from that.
I don't think she
Yeah.
Like,
did. I don't think she ever really recovered from what happened.
not completely, but the fact that she was able to raise those kids
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
to
right. She
have
she she built a
some
life
sort
in
of,
Canada
yeah,
that
exactly.
the lawyer that she was working with, he really held her close. And
Yeah.
Mm.
I think it's a very heartbreaking story.
Like, the
Yeah.
thing is, we talked a lot about representation of strong women in Hollywood. This is a strong woman.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, but
Uh,
it really is.
It is.
And I guess we can kind of maybe transition into themes a little
Yeah,
bit
that's what I was about to do. Thank you
because
for taking away my moment. I set that up
hey, that's what
perfectly.
I'm here for.
I just set that up perfectly. You just stole my thunder.
But I wish that there were more. I wish that there were more stories that were about accepting what has happened and about coming to terms and to grips with what's happened instead of stories about trying to fix, going back and
what happened?
fixing or
Oh,
changing what's happened. I mean, just in general, I don't think there's not that many stories that you see as much nowadays. I mean, I think later on we're going to do one on Operation Finale,
Yes.
and there's a little bit of themes about that in there, but most of these stories have a
They're
lot to do
afraid that
with
the future is gonna look like the past.
exactly. And there's a lot of a lot of stories just don't deal with that, and I really appreciated that theme in this movie. That it's some people might say, oh, this was a very dark movie, where it was, but it wasn't completely without some hope, without some
I mean, it's like what you
pop.
said. It's dark, but it's not cynical.
Yes, exactly. It's not
It,
cynical. It doesn't view people as without help or without um purpose or anything like that. It shows that people can do terrible things, but those same people also are what you know that's where the love is, and that's why that's just the reason to go on.
I also think that it does a very good job of depicting how even before we're like actions that take place even before we come into this world can have such a deep effect on ourselves. And
Yeah.
when you look at Narwhal's firstborn,
Did you say
Nabil,
narwhal?
Narwhal's sorry. See, this is like you said, this is why you're here. When you look when you look at Narwhal's firstborn, what's his who turns out to be Abu Tarek,
Yep.
and you can just imagine how his upbringing, because he was born into war, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
he
he had
was.
he never had a chance. And he wanted his mother. He wanted to find his mother as well.
Mhm.
But he believed
Yeah.
that she was dead, and he lost himself in his anger.
And
And
the
that,
atrocities he committed was so his mother could notice him
yeah,
one day.
yeah. At one point in the story, we're told
Yeah.
that he wanted to become a martyr so that his face would be
Face,
in the
yep,
newspapers and his mother would
his
see him.
mother
And
see him.
again, it everything stems. This entire story stems from one moment when a man is killed because he's not from the same religion as the mother. And that moment changed so many lives. And this movie deals with it so well. I can understand how somebody would not understand her decision to forgive at the end.
Yeah. No, it's hard for me to understand it, but I do. But I mean, it's just it's really hard to
But
really
I can
understand it, to like
I,
truly like internalize that. Because if you put yourself in her shoes, you just can't.
Yeah, like
no, I understand that, but I see like her perspective is because hate started this. Hate and anger began it, and the only way to stop it was to go the opposite direction. Because
Hmm.
she could have easily hated him. She
Hmm.
could have easily, but he needed love as well.
Yeah.
and she could have ousted him because he
Yeah,
was a criminal of war.
but no.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I also think that is because deep down she still feels,
That's a kid.
yeah, and
And
she
she
feels,
knows that he didn't do any of those things knowingly.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
also too, I mean, it's like she lived the consequences of the hate that caused what happened to her son to happen. So she knows better than anyone. Like, you would think, oh well, she should just be angry at him. Well, no, she knows. She felt, and she knows, and she experienced the consequences of that. So she doesn't want to see that again, happen
yeah.
to her son.
She
Yeah.
she didn't she did she didn't want the hate to carry on to the next generation. Like in
Mm-hmm.
a way,
yep.
like she says, to like end the circle of anger,
Uh,
because anger brings so much of the brutality and the violence that we saw in this movie.
Yeah.
And Villeneuve does not shy away from it. He makes us see it. He makes us witness the evil in humanity, like the darkness of our souls. And the bus scene, like we said earlier, it's not just this great scene. It fully encapsulates this movie. And the moment where she's coming out of the bus, she's lucky enough because she has the cross, but she thinks, let me at least save the child as well. And the mother allowed for that to happen because the mother would rather thinks that it's better for her child to have a chance to live. And she feels the same way. Now the child though ran back to be with their mother, and
And got
again,
shot.
And
exactly.
it is one of the most heartbreaking scenes in the movie, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
because the child was out, but the child wanted the mother,
Yeah.
just like Nawal's son. No matter what he had been through, no matter what, he still wanted to be close to his mother.
The mother. Yeah.
And I just think that again, yes, there's a lot of ugliness, but there's this beauty in it, like this, this
You
sense
can
of
see the positive aspects, the love, the loyalty,
exactly.
the faith, all those sort of things. It's just like they
But
shine so bright when they're in these sort of situations.
exactly, and it's like the anger and the hatred and the misunderstanding is stomping out the love that is there.
That is probably the greatest accomplishment of this movie because this movie could have been very cynical and
Oh yeah.
draining and dark for example, let's take Seven. There is no glimmer of hope at the end of Seven. This is David Fincher's Seven, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that movie ends on a dark and depressing note that lets you with an open mouth asking yourself what the fuck just happened. But and, but this one, you have like little moments of humanity and positivity that
And close,
shines through
at the end,
the darkness that we're in. Like this is an ugly movie from a human perspective. Like we see the absolute worst of humanity in here, and at the same time we see the best we can be from like Marwan's character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
No, I have so
she,
much respect. Like honestly, the letter at the end, I'm like, it just that like if nothing else broke me like that, like broke me because it's just like, this the strength that she showed like during prison and about not giving up. Like she was the woman who sings, right? Like that's what all the
yep,
guards and stuff called her because she would sing to keep her spirits up and whatnot. But but what really like just made me have so much respect for her was at the end when she forgave her son for what happened, what he did to her during in prison and all that. It's just it just goes to show that how big of a person, I mean, how big of a person you got to be. That's a huge person, It's just like I can't even wrap my head around it, but at the same time, I just understand. And since I experienced the things that she experienced, it just gives me so much understanding and empathy for that character. It's just that's a character that not only like some characters you can relate to, some characters you aspire to be, and I aspire to have the the compassion, the love, the
the
insight that she
strength,
had,
the
the strength that
emotional
she has. Yeah.
and strength, man.
Yeah. Like that's a character that like I want to be like that.
I mean, the way that she loved her child, it's because when the war started, she could have easily gone to the mountains with her family and been safe.
Yeah,
But she had made a promise, and she was going to keep that promise no matter what.
basically.
Yeah, and I love that even though she's been through all the things that she's been through, in the twilight of her life, keeping that promise still meant so much to her.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I keep asking myself, was this woman ever happy?
I mean, that's kind of what I was talking about before, and I think that she was when she was with the father at the beginning. I
Yeah,
think that she knew
Mm.
love and she wanted to escape with him and be in love with him fully. Something that she
that's
knew that her family would never accept. And it's crazy because when her daughter finds the family, they're still upset. They still haven't
yes.
forgiven
Hmm.
her for falling in love with the other man. And
And
again, that just the resounding theme of that circle of anger comes back because when there's this scene where Jenna goes and finds her mother's village, and she's talking to the women there, women who knew her mother, and they were still angry and rejecting of her, even though it had been how many years?
A few
Like
about
40, 50 years, easy, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
approximately. Yeah.
Yeah, because she was in jail for 15 years and her kids were at least in their 20s. So it's just it's just it's just really remarkable how long we can keep anger, that it just keeps going from generation to generation.
Hmm.
And
Which kind of solidifies her point at the end to end on a positive note. Because even after 50 something years, those people still have that anger against.
they couldn't let it go.
They couldn't let go.
Like they had they had this new family member that they had no idea existed, that came into their home. They could have learned so much about what happened to her and her life overseas, but they didn't even care
Hmm.
because they couldn't let go
They were still
that.
stuck on the past. And that's exactly what she didn't want her kids to go through or become that cynical to the point where 50, 60 years later, you're still holding onto something that happened that far and that long ago.
I don't know. After that, it feels kind of weird to start talking about the cinematography, or is it just me?
No, it's not
Well, I
just
mean,
you,
we touched on it. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, I guess we can talk. I'm willing to talk about it, but I mean, basically, uh, it was good. It was so good. I mean, I don't really know how to explain it other than just very, very effective. I mean, cinematography gives you, it helps you, it brings you into the world, it sets the mood, the tone. It it really, it can even help you to um, point your eye to certain to certain things to draw your attention to certain things. It's a vital part of the storytelling, and I felt like with this movie it just like there's a few shots that I really liked. Of course, the bus scene was amazing. From the color grading to the shot composition. I love the wide angle shot they took with the bus burning
Yep.
in the background. I mean, that was just a fan.
Her and her on her knees.
Yes, that was an
Yep.
amazing shot.
That's a great shot.
There was another really really good shot where she was walking down these like steps, like this like the stair steps, these stone steps underneath like this arch of some kind, and it was just really nice. They had this really nice cool color palette with the her being a the light source coming from the back. She was like silhouetted, the way that the light source was the way it was shot, and it was just really really nice. Like I just that particular shot really stood out to me. I forgot exactly when it was in the chronological placing it chronologically in the movie. But Denis just really shows that he's really masterful you know at his artistry in this. So I appreciated that a
And
lot.
and the fact that that was his second movie ever
Yeah.
is even more a testament to how talented the guy is.
Yeah, he's definitely has he has something special, and that's like we were talking about how he's a great storyteller. The technique that he brings, and an understanding of where the eye should be, what we should be focusing on is so important to tell this
Yeah.
particular story.
Yeah. Also, another thing, like, because a lot of times when I think cinematography, I think like shot comp and color grading, but also editing too. Like,
Yeah,
editing was good, and also some of the wide angles and close-ups were just so like
the
there's
close-ups
a lot of
especially.
the
Yeah,
close-ups because you get these looks on these faces of these people, and it just
Yep.
especially when it's so silent, it's just the face acting is so important, and
Yeah,
there were
that's his.
yeah
Oh, like, yeah, that's
yeah
exactly what I was gonna say. Cause like Manu mentioned, there isn't a lot of dialogue, so the fact that the facial acting has to be
yeah.
focused on a lot, so we can get all the emotions out of these characters. It's really important.
The shot at the end with her in the pool when she learns who
oh
her
my god.
yeah when she learns who was her the one who tortured her in prison, as well as who happens to be the same her son, and when she learns that, and she's just sitting there in the pool, and she has this blank, haunted, just ghostly expression to her face. Her eyes just like, hollow pits. You're just, and it zooms in, so close. The color grading, the blue, the bluish kind of color, aquamarine kind of light reflecting off the pool into her face. It just gives you this very cold, haunting kind of feel about the whole scene.
Even
And it's
even before that, the shot where it focuses on the the tattoo
the
on
heel,
him,
yeah.
on the heel when she's still in the pool.
And then
And
it zooms up, it pans
yes,
upward. You see,
exactly. And you see it, and you're like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Because I was thinking at that point, because we're shown snippets of it throughout the movie,
Yeah.
and then so when you find out about that 1 and 1 is 1, when you find that out, you're like, so what happened?
Mhm.
Something must have happened because she seemed like she was okay, and then she wasn't. So you're wondering, what did she see? What did she see? And then you find out that that's what she saw. Like,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
then
And I think
and what I'm thinking about is like, when she saw the dots, she must have thought, "Oh my God, this is my son."
that's my kid. Yeah. The
And then
one I've
she
been
sees the
looking for all
face,
my life.
and then she's like, "Oh my God, that's the same man who raped me." Like, just to go from one emotion to the
Motion
other.
to the
Yeah.
other, man.
That's some.
And and I think that's the moment that broke her mentally.
Yeah,
I think that's where she started not acting like as normally as she used to. Because like Mike was talking about the blank look on her face, the sunken eyes. I think something snapped in her brain, like to go from that emotion of joy and ecstasy of finding the son you thought was dead, and then finding out he was your abuser for.
yeah. And I thought about it as well because at the beginning, when she's in the hospital, and the doctor is checking her out, and he's asking all of these questions, and they're like, no, 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 like, did she have this? Did she have that? And they're all like, no, no. So you have this idea that she was a healthy woman,
Mhm.
that whatever happened, it must have turned on. So, like you said, the intensity of those two emotions, like ratcheting at once, must have completely. I think it was just too much for her system to take.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
So, the score. Fab. You guys
yeah,
in this?
like I don't know. There isn't much to say about it because there's I don't know if towards the end of the movie there's a score at all, but I realized like some of the score in the first half of the movie. It was pretty good, nothing too special, but the lack thereof is what made the movie for me because
Yeah.
we focused on the dialogue and the acting and the scenery and the
Honest, honestly, I feel like with a score, I think the philosophy of a score, or like just the what makes a score good, isn't necessarily like. I think that the way that we traditionally look at a score as like, okay, this song, how good was it? Like this song, how good was it? Like how easy was it to listen to? Did it complement that particular part? I think that the lack there of a score says just as much about the overall score of the movie, like how the movie was scored, as does. I mean, for instance, like think about music as it is, right? Like what is music? Like it's not just the notes; it's also what's in between. It's the pauses. They're just as important as the song. So when you're thinking about how the whole movie is scored, when there isn't necessarily music, I think that's just as much of a testament to the score as when there is. So just because there wasn't as much music in this movie, I still rate the score extremely high because of the way that it was used. There were just more pauses, I guess you could say.
I think
yeah.
it's basically what you said about the cinematography. It's effective.
Yeah.
It's effective. Like, I feel sometimes some movies do use score as a crutch to kind of make the audience feel something that's they might not feel from what's
So
on screen.
actually happening. Yep,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
true. And
but
sometimes the score is a little overbearing,
yeah,
meaning they
Yeah.
try too hard.
Yeah, but this one was used when necessary because there's just so many other things carrying the story. There's so many like just the performances are doing it. The story itself is just so powerful and just so touching and so it doesn't need more than than what you're already getting. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think like the word for it is effective. Is effective.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's give our closing thoughts on Incendie. Fa-
Ah, you pronounced it right.
uh, Fab, why don't you go ahead?
I don't know. So my thoughts on Incendies is it is a riveting story and very emotional. It is my technically my favorite Villeneuve movie from a narrative standpoint. His storytelling, the acting, the performances, the way he handles violence and people's reaction to it, and the way he handles humans in general. He shows the best of us and the worst side of us. And in the middle of all this negativity, he leaves us with a glimmer of hope at the end. So it is one of my favorite movies of all time, period.
Mike.
Yeah, that wraps it up really well. I just have to say that, it's not a movie. This is not a kind of a movie that I watch often. I like the way that Villeneuve uh, plays with time. Like all my favorite movies take place over a large span of time. I love those kind of movies so much. I mean, from the words to the way that the interesting ways that Villeneuve plays with time in Arrival, The Prestige. It has some elements of time in there. I love There Will Be Blood. The Coen brothers do an awesome job with that. That epic story, takes place over the life of this man. And I think that just it gives you this understanding of your character, and you just seeing their life that way, in this kind of macro lens, and it just makes you really like connect to them, especially when it's shot and acted so well like this. So I really have a greater appreciation for this director, and I definitely want to see more work from him in the future.
Absolutely.
This is without a doubt my favorite Villeneuve movie. The story is beautiful and is beautifully told. The performances are wonderful. The cinematography is effective, and the reveals and are just they're just bonkers for lack of a better word. It's a remarkable story of love and hate and anger and
Yeah.
ugliness and beauty. I feel like it has so many different emotions that it plays with, and it does so with honesty and with an openness that is necessary for this kind of
Yeah,
story. Because to tell it any other way would have been disingenuous.
yeah.
Because this war really took place. This war
Yeah.
really took place, and I'm not saying
And
that something like this actually happened, but people, I'm sure that people
it
lost.
kind of did.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's based
things
on.
like this do
Yep.
happen.
It is inspired somewhat from a true story.
So yeah, so that I think that makes it all the more important to try to be as honest and as open and as real with the world at that time in that place as possible, and how the world is a very small place. Like it could feel big, but at the end of the day, we're all interconnected in some way, shape, or form. And I think that sometimes we forget that. And
Yeah.
I think this movie is a beautiful reminder of why we shouldn't, and that our actions, the decisions that we make, they stay, they leave traces, like the movie says. Like
Hmm.
it doesn't end with death; it leaves traces, and that's really what this movie is about. It's about how we keep these circles of anger we just keep them going on and on and on and on, and we should find ways to stop because there's people that are being lost in the middle of it all. Well, thank you very much for listening and for paying attention to us, and we hope you enjoyed listening to us talk about this movie. Fab, why don't you drop your at?
It's either Freshy Rose on Twitter, FreshYRosay.
Mike, what about you?
That is VELKRO16. That's Velcro 16. Velcro spelled wrong with a K. And Twitter name is Sheen Mikezilla. Which one day I might change that, but so I'm wondering should I keep saying it like that? But I don't know. But for now, it's Sheen Mikezilla.
And you can reach me at ManUnited0710. You can also reach the Film Exiles at our Twitter page, The Film Exiles, at The Film Exiles. You can reach us at Gmail, thefilmexiles@gmail.com. We are on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We're on Pinterest, I think. We're on Pinterest, right?
Yep, we are. Actually, there's a lot of great art there. So like, if you want something for like a great picture for like your wallpaper on your phone or something like that, like I'm serious, it's a great place to go.
All right. Well, thank you, Fab.
Thanks. Yeah,
Thank you, Fab,
thanks,
for suggesting the movie, and
great having you on again. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love talking about this movie with you guys, man.
Yeah, me too. And thank you for everybody.
Thanks everyone for listening.
A lot of fun.
And we'll be back soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.